When you are grounded, you do not question your worth. You do not second guess your inner knowing, and you feel connected truly and deeply to your body, your path, and your power. Welcome to Intuition Unlocked, the podcast empowering empathic women who feel misunderstood, overwhelmed, or disconnected from their intuition, begin to trust their sensitivities, find inner clarity, and show up with embodied, unstoppable confidence in their daily lives. I am your host, Olivia Ashley, an empath and intuitive, and I am so happy you're here. As an empathetic and intuitive woman, you have a unique ability to feel energy and emotions on a deep level. It really is a superpower, but without knowing how to support and ground yourself, life can feel overwhelming, unsteady, and even scattered. When you harness your intuitive power and begin to root into the earth's energy, things can begin to come back into alignment, and there's a subtle yet profound shift that takes place. You're able to gain better clarity, presence, and deep peace within yourself. Welcome back to Intuition Unlocked. I'm Olivia Ashley, and today we're diving into one of my favorite practices and topics, grounding, and why it's both a science-backed wellness tool and a sacred spiritual practice. In this episode, you will learn how grounding works on a biological level to improve your sleep, energy, and emotional balance, why grounding is essential for spiritual connection and intuitive clarity, and how to integrate simple grounding rituals into your day, even if you're inside or living a modern, busy life. So let's dive in. And I want to start off by sharing a little bit about my own journey with grounding and learning to ground even when I didn't know I was doing it. There was definitely a time in my life, especially after becoming a mother, and still times in my life when I feel incredibly ungrounded. That comes with feeling emotionally raw, overstimulated, and totally disconnected from myself. When I'm in these states, I often describe it as being up in the clouds, and not in a fun imagination, daydreaming type up in the clouds, but more I am up in the clouds of anxiety and no energy and exhaustion. And my nervous system just felt fried, like I couldn't give any more. And that would leave me in a really vulnerable and overwhelmed state. And I've always had a love for nature, but with work and the to-dos of every day, I didn't always prioritize or make space to get outside or to be present in my body. And yet after having my first child and being on maternity leave, I really started to intentionally take the time to be outside in the sun, barefoot, sitting on the grass, listening to the birds, and enjoying my breakfast with my daughter. And sometimes it was 5 minutes, sometimes it was 45, but I made it a little ritual where I knew how I was going to start my day. I knew I was going to relax. There was nothing else I needed to do, and it got me off the couch. Because if you've been in that newborn postpartum stage, couch rot is so real and so needed, but being able to have some time outside really lifted my spirits. And so I brought that forward with me into the next decade. I realized that spending time outside, going for a walk, playing in the creek, laying in the grass with my kids was a necessity. And so I intentionally prioritized it. And I even found a grounding mat to put over my mattress. And while these things didn't fully click, it was another way I felt that could help me feel more grounded and in my body and connected to myself. I also began to bring in so many crystals and plants into my home. For quite a few years, I always asked for them as gifts. And if I was at a store and a plant really called to me, I would bring it home. So slowly, but very powerfully, I noticed a shift in my space and in my energy, both around it and within myself. So my energy started to feel more stable when I was prioritizing and showing up and habitually spending time outside, feet in the earth, nothing else to do but be present with my family or myself and in nature or within my home, enjoying my plants and the energy that I really set within it. I began to feel calmer, my intuition began to sharpen, and I just spent more time relaxing and being present, noticing the subtleties of life and releasing the worries and anxiety of my mind. I could hear my inner knowing becoming more clear because my body was allowed the space to anchor and settle. And like I said, I started all these steps nearly a decade ago and have seen the lasting benefits of it all. And that's why I wanted to do this episode, so I could get even deeper beyond my own personal experience with it and dive into the science and spirituality behind it, because I've come to realize grounding isn't just a cute or hippie idea, it is essential, and it's so simple. And it's how we remember we belong to the earth, to our bodies, and to ourselves. So if you're not sure whether you're grounded or not, here are some signs you may be ungrounded. And they're especially common for intuitives and empaths, so you'll probably recognize some. You may feel anxious, scattered, or spacey. You're easily overwhelmed by noisy people or emotions or big emotions of others, even yourself. You may have the tendency to overthink, spiral in your head, or disconnect from your body. You can feel floaty or off balance, forgetful or clumsy. You can struggle to make decisions or trust your instincts. And you crave stimulation, whether it's sugar, caffeine, or scrolling, just to feel present. There are also biological symptoms that could be showing up that are related to ungrounding. These could be high cortisol levels, so your stress levels, lack of sleep and poor sleep quality, high inflammation in your body. So there's a variety of things that can happen when you're ungrounded. Yet remember that this is simple and easy, and you can become more grounded and help alleviate some of these symptoms if it is in fact what's going on. Always work with a healthcare provider to talk about any symptoms or feelings and get the help you need. So let's get into the science of grounding and really help you understand this better. Grounding is also called earthing. This is when your skin touches the earth. Whether it's dirt, sand, grass, or water, you absorb free electrons that the earth constantly emits. These electrons act like antioxidants. They neutralize inflammation, causing free radicals in your body. And studies have shown that grounding can lower cortisol levels, so your stress hormone, reduce inflammation, improve sleep quality, increase heart rate variability, which is a sign of nervous system balance, and even support wound healing. This is all beautifully explored in the documentary called The Earthing Movie, which came out in 2019. It's a documentary that tracks the transformation of people dealing with chronic pain, autoimmune conditions, and fatigue, all by reconnecting to the earth. It goes more deeply into the science behind how we are an electric universe. And just like we need to be plugging our electronics into grounded outlets when we're transferring electricity, we as electric beings also need to ground. Yet most of us are not grounded due to our rubber shoes, our homes, and our daily routines, which keep us really insulated physically and energetically, yet lack the vital exchange that is grounding. We've disconnected ourselves from the very frequency our body needs because we no longer are directly interacting with the earth, soil, water every day. And grounding can bring you back into contact with the planet's frequency, which will help bring homeostasis and balance into your body. The science of grounding really helps us understand how the earth supports our biology from a physiological level, which is really helpful to understand and know that there is something actually happening. But there's also a very energetic, spiritual side of grounding that reminds you of something even more profound. You are nature, you are not separate. Grounding is not just a practice, it really is a homecoming. It is a return to the body, to the earth, and to the divine wisdom within. When I first began my intuitive and spiritual journey, I spent a lot of my time floating in the higher chakras, in the ethers, in thought and energy in the cosmos. It was expansive, but also exhausting. I couldn't always hear my own intuition clearly, and I also felt scattered and drained because I was always open and up and on. And it wasn't until I began grounding daily, doing Reiki and learning Reiki, that I realized you need to also be grounding down, rooting down into the lower chakras, closing your energy up and coming back down into your body. There's a lot of wisdom here within and lower within the earth, within ourselves, our ancestors, that is really rooted here in this space and plane. In yoga, this concept is really closely tied to your root chakra, the chakra at the base of your spine. This is the energetic foundation of your entire being. When this center is balanced, you feel safe, supported, and able to show up in the world with confidence. Yogic practices like mountain pose, Tadasana, or the 3-part breath, and even the chant of the seed sound, Lam, help activate and balance the center. Similarly, in Reiki and energy healing, grounding is the first and last thing we do when we are doing Reiki. Before giving or receiving energy, we visualize roots or cords connecting us to the earth. We may even hold grounding stones like smoky quartz or hematite, or anoint our feet with an oil such as lavender or cedarwood. And why? Well, because when we're not grounded, we become like an open energy sponge. We will absorb the emotions, sensations, and feelings of other people's energy. But when we are grounded, we are clear, sovereign channels, and energy and intuition can flow in without overwhelm or taking it on. We get to just be the channel for everything to work its magic. We don't hold tight or take on and absorb other energies we don't need to. Grounding is also a central theme in many earth-based and indigenous spiritual traditions. In these lineages, grounding isn't a self-care practice. It is a sacred act of reciprocity. To walk barefoot, to sit with your back against a tree, to offer water or a prayer to the earth, these are all ways of honoring the living being that holds us. When we ground, we aren't just connecting to the earth's energy. We're remembering that we belong here. We honor that sacred connection. And we know that the earth is not a resource to extract from, but a mother to care for and commune with. This connection changes how we live. When you feel deeply grounded in the earth and in your body, you can often experience a shift in your values. You slow down, you become more intentional, you feel more connected to your community, and you may want to begin to take better care of nature because you feel her within us. And then you want to take better care of yourself because you're a reflection of her. You're a reflection of the divine and of the sacred. And so what you put into your body, the water you drink, the air you breathe, the frequency you hold and emit, all play important roles in that. As an intuitive and empath myself, I can honestly say that I feel the trees, the water, the animals, and their essence and spirit. They speak if you're willing to listen, and they give so freely. And in return, we can give our gratitude, our presence, our stewardship, and we can even share grounding practices with others, your family, your children, your friends. Because the more grounded you are, the more you can help others ground themselves too. And here's a deeper truth. You cannot rise without roots. You cannot connect to the sacred as easily if you are not present in your body. Grounding is what allows your intuition to come alive because it creates safety, clarity, and stability within you. When you are grounded, you do not question your worth. You do not second guess your inner knowing, and you feel connected truly and deeply to your body, your path, and your power. And with that comes confidence and well-being and the want to be better, to grow, to use that power and that motivation and knowing to help others. So if you've been struggling with anxiety, overwhelm, struggling to trust your decisions, or even connect to your intuition, you can come back to the earth. You can let her hold you, let her teach you, let her remind you that you are safe to be here. Grounding isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. And you have access to that connection, both from going outside and spending time in nature, and also from dropping in, from connecting to your root chakra, your intuition, working with your energy, and taking deep breaths, coming back to your heart. And here are some of my favorite simple ways you can reconnect and begin grounding. Firstly, barefoot walking on grass, sand, soil, or in the water. You can sit or lie on the earth, even 5-minute helps. You can cook more root vegetables and eat warm, nourishing meals. You can do body scans and breath work to tune into your body. You can get a grounding mat for under your desk while you work. You can get a grounding sheet to put on your bed while you sleep. You can welcome in crystals like smoky quartz, black tourmaline, or hematite, as well as plants into your home and your workspace. When you wake up, do a quick visualization of roots growing from your feet or the base of your spine down into the earth, and notice your energy field around you. Have it be clean and clear and whole. Even if you're inside most of the day, you can still ground with intention. You can use scent, texture, sound, and ritual. Let it become sacred. Let it become fun, and enjoy the benefits. Because here's the bigger picture of this all. When you ground yourself into the earth, when you ground yourself into your body, anchor into yourself, you don't just feel better. You feel better, and you also remember you belong to something bigger. Nature is not separate from you. You are nature. And the more you reconnect with her, the more well aligned and whole you become. Time in nature has been shown to regulate your nervous system, enhance creativity and emotional balance. It builds reverence, presence, and intuitive insight, and it deepens your empathy for the earth, animals, and each other, which we really need more of right now. If you're listening in here, I know you're an intuitive and an empath, and you probably already feel the earth as a living being. You might even sense the energy of trees or the pulse of the wind or the song of the stars. And this sensitivity is a gift. But if you're not nurturing and working with it and grounding, it can become really overwhelming and exhausting to maintain. Nature gives to us constantly through oxygen, food, healing, beauty, and grounding back into ourselves and taking care of the earth is one of the simplest ways we can say thank you. When you ground, you're not just healing or helping yourself. You get to contribute to a collective uplift in frequency. And we can share this with our children, our friends, our partners, and let it ripple outward. And integration is how it becomes sustainable. Integrating our knowledge, our wisdom, our intuition into our daily lives is where it becomes a lifestyle. Grounding, intuition, spirituality, connection is more than a practice. It is a lifestyle. So start the morning with bare feet on the earth or a grounding visualization. Choose one grounding meal per day, something warm, slow, or nourishing, and end the day with a body check-in. Where do I feel overwhelmed or unsettled? What would support me? And give that to yourself. And let your intuition guide you. Ask your body and self daily what it needs to feel safe and rooted. The more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. And over time, it will become your inner anchor, something you can return to anytime you feel overwhelmed, unsure, or off balance. So remember, grounding reconnects you to your body, intuition, and the earth. It has real physical benefits like reduced inflammation, better sleep, and less anxiety. It can help sharpen your intuitive abilities by anchoring your energy and opening your root chakra. It can deepen your relationship with nature and can motivate Earth's stewardship. And grounding is not a daily practice, it is a way of being. So if this episode was interesting or supported you in some way, please share it with a friend or someone who could use a breath of peace and clarity, and let's ripple grounding outward together. And remember, I'm currently doing a giveaway for a free 1-hour virtual Akashic record reading to celebrate hitting 100 episodes of the podcast. You can enter by leaving a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and sending me a screenshot of it via Instagram at wildlyolivia or email at olivia@olivia-ashley.com. This will enter you into this giveaway, which ends May 31st. Alongside this giveaway, as a way of saying thank you to all of you listeners, I have discounted my sessions and readings on my website by 10%. So those will be on sale through May 31st. You can book a session with me anytime in the future. So thank you for grounding with me today. Thank you for listening and being here. Remember to root deep and rise strong. Thank you for joining me on Intuition Unlocked. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a moment of insight, guidance, or intuitive inspiration. To dive deeper into our community and get access to exclusive content, head to my website at www.olivia-ashley.com and subscribe to my newsletter. You can also connect with me on Instagram at wildlyolivia for daily inspiration and updates. Remember, your intuition is your superpower. Trust it, nurture it, and let it guide you. Until next time, I'm Olivia Ashley, and I can't wait to connect with you again.